Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lamakaan and welcome to the first Anwar Moazzam Memorial Lecture. We are quite happy to have you all here. Uh, a word or two about Anwar Moazzam Saab. Anwar Moazzam Saab has left a rich legacy of academic with us. So he's been a professor at the University of Osmania University in the Department of Islamic Studies. He has also written large volumes of books on Islamic studies, South Asian studies, and also Urdu literature as such. So this lecture is instituted in his memory, and this is the first lecture. And we are quite privileged and happy to have Professor Muhammad Suleman Siddiqi Sahab, who's also is a very favorite student of Anwar Moazzam Sahab. So those who live in Hyderabad, they need not have to be told about Suleman Siddiqi Sahab because he was the former Vice Chancellor of Osmania University and also the founding registrar of Maulana Azad National Urdu University. So I have all the greatest pleasure in welcoming Professor Suleman Siddiqi Sahab to deliver the first Anwar Moazzam Memorial Lecture. Please join me.
Good evening to all of you. I am required to tell you about, this lecture is all about Sufism, past and present. But the topic is so vast and so wide. It covers almost 1300 years. And the landscape is from Arabia, right on the east into Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara, and then the whole of India. In the west, the landscape is Egypt, Africa, right up to Spain. That is the first phase of the story of this Sufism, past and present. You are all aware of the fact that I need to place this development of Sufism and the Sufi ideology into these 1300 years, roughly about 1300 years, and the landscape which I have told you just now. And therefore, it is very essential for me to tell you briefly about the Islamic history and the landscape in which we are going to talk today. You are all aware of the fact that Islam was born with the noble prophet, and the first revelation came in 611, and he lived at Mecca for a period of 11 years, in which about 91 chapters of the Quran were revealed. These chapters are small, rhythmic, poetic, easy to learn, and they deal with the concept of Tawheed, they deal with the concept of prophethood, they deal with they deal with the stories of the previous prophets, because ethical lessons are to be derived from these stories. And also tell you that the Meccan period, after the Hijrat, after the migration of the noble prophet from Mecca to Medina, he spent about 10 years at Medina, and during this particular period, only 24 chapters of the Quran were revealed. I have forgotten to tell you that the 90 chapters, they form 1/3 of the Quran, and whereas the 24 chapters which were revealed in Medina, they form 2/3 of the Quran, and they are difficult chapters in the sense that you are it's not easy to memorize these 23 chapters. They are big and lengthy. They deal with ibadat, muamalat, ukhubat, that is namaz, roza, hajj, zakat, the Tawheed, namaz, roza, hajj, zakat. They deal with muamalat, that is day-to-day affairs, marriage, divorce, inheritance, waqf, property, and so on and so forth. Then they also deal with ukhubat, which is crime and punishment. They deal with zina, they deal with fornication, they deal with theft, they deal with sood, and so on and so forth. Though most of the injunctions of the Quran and most of the injunctions of the religion of Islam are to be found in these 23 chapters. And therefore, you should know that these 23 years in the Hijrah, according to the Hijrah calendar, and 21 years of the prophet of the noble prophet, the base is Mecca and Medina, and here the religion of Islam was born, and there was no outside influence on the Islam at this juncture. Then it is followed, this is 21 years of prophethood, then we have the 29 years of the Orthodox Caliphate, which is Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, and Ali, and which is about 29 years. This is also a puritanic phase of the Islam. There was no outside influence. There was no interference. People lived within the boundaries of Arabia. But only after during the caliphate of Hazrat Umar, the expeditions took place in the east and in the west as well. And during this 29 years of the Orthodox Caliphate, which is referred to as Orthodox Caliphate or which is referred to as the Noble Caliphate, still Puritanic Islam was very much intact. And then we have after this the Umayyad period, which is 89 years. And during the last 50 years of the Umayyad dynasty, the transition, the transformation, and the growth of various subjects took place during that particular period. This 89 years of Umayyad period is followed by the Abbasid period, which is roughly about 508 years. But you should remember one thing, that the last 50 years of the Umayyad dynasty and the first 200 years of the 200 years of the Abbasid period, 750 to 850 and 850 to 950, roughly around, not exactly, are the period which are referred to as the golden period of Islam, Sunehra Daur. Why it is called the Sunehra Daur? It is because it is during this particular period, you should remember that the Muslim territories expanded right up to Samarkand, Bukhara, Tashkent in the east, northeast. It came right up to India, the whole of India almost. The northern part of the whole of India was captured. And in the west it was Egypt, and then it went up to Spain during the Abbasid period, during the Umayyad and Abbasid period. Huge expansion took place during this particular period. And then the second important thing which you should also remember is, it was during this particular period, the Orthodox period of the noble caliphs, Quran was compiled for the first time during the period of Abu Bakr, and second time because the people were reading it in different dialects, it was recompiled on a single dialect during the period of Hazrat Usman, the third caliph. That's why Hazrat Usman is referred to as Jami al-Quran. Also, you should remember that during the later Umayyad period and the early Abbasid period, Hadith literature was compiled, and Muwatta Imam Malik was there. Then we have Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Sunan by Jami, Sunan by Maza, Jami Tirmizi by Tirmizi. Hadith literature was compiled. Also, you should remember 5 schools of tafsir was established. Also, you should remember that the 4 Sunni schools of jurisprudence were established during this period. 3 Shia schools of jurisprudence were established during this particular period. It is also, you should remember that the philosophical schools like the Mu'tazilites, the Asharites, and the Maturidis were established during this particular period. They are there from Kufa, Basra, and right up to the other part. 3 important intellectual centers were established. The first intellectual center was established at Medina. It was called Ahl al-Hadith, those who concentrated on Hadith literature, and Muwatta Imam Malik was the chief man there. And then you should also remember that second important school was established as Ahl al-Rai. It was established as Kufa. The product of that school is Imam Abu Hanifa, because the Hanafi school is the most liberal school. Then we have the 4 Sunni schools of Islamic law, 3 Shia schools of 3 Shia schools of the 3 Shia juristic schools were established. And during this particular period, progress was made in the field of mathematics, algebra, trigonometry, mathematics, logic, philosophy. Religious literature was compiled during this particular period. Also, you should remember that the polity was very much established, what the Quran says about the politics. And we also have the principles of guidelines of economy. Then we have art and architecture, fine arts, ceramics, and so on and so forth. Huge developments took place during the last 50 years of the Umayyad dynasty, as it earlier, and the first 200 years of the Abbasid dynasty. That's why it is the golden age, and that's why the most important thing for us to know that it is in this landscape, or it is during this particular period, that the Sufism started. It is started from Kufa and Basra and the outer skirts of Baghdad. And this thing up to Abbasid is the first cycle of the history of Islam. Then we have the second cycle of the history of Islam, which relates to the Ottoman dynasty, starting from, if I remember correctly, 1299, and came up to the end of 1924, during the period of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. And it was during this period of Ottoman Turkey, Islam was revived in a different culture, in a different country, among different languages, among different peoples, and so on and so forth. Similarly, you should know that Safavid dynasty was established in the year 1501, which was established by Shah Ismail. And this is the second Shia dynasty which was established. The first Shia dynasty was in Egypt. It is called the Fatimid dynasty. They were the followers of the 7 Imams. But it was the Shia dynasty which was established in Safavid Persia during the Safavid period. Persia, they followed the Isna Ashari religion. That is, they were the followers of the 12 Imams, 12 Shia Imams, right? The Safavids were followed by the Khachars, and the Khachars were followed by the Pahlavis, and the Pahlavis were followed by Ayatollah Khomeini in 1979 bloodless revolution. Similarly, you should also know that we have the Sultanate period in India. Muslims entered into Sindh during the year 712 by Muhammad bin Qasim. Muhammad bin Qasim captured Sindh, and it is followed by the Ghaznavis, the Ghauris, and then we have the slave kings, then we have the Khiljis, then we have the Tughlis, then Sayyids and Pathans, and the Lodhis, if I remember correctly. This was the period, but the Sultanate period is from 1206, that is from the Ghaznavid period, that is from the beginning of the slave dynasty, and it comes up to 1526, the establishment of the Mughal rule. And then we have the Mughal dynasty up to 1857, and then we also have the provincial states of Deccan, like the Bahmanis, the Qutub Shahis, the Adil Shahis, the Nizam Shahis, and then it is followed by the Asif Jahis. And then the independence in 1948, the Nizam state was merged into Indian Union, and so on and so forth. This is the landscape in which we have to place the Sufis and Sufism. Sorry for taking this much of time in telling you this, but the fact is, it is during this particular period. What is Sufism? Sufism, according to Junaid, he defined it as dead to his self and alive in God. A Sufi is one who is dead to his self, but he is always alive in God 24/7. Shibli defined Sufi as one who has no link with this world, khalq, but has linked himself with God. That's the definition of that's the second definition given by Shibli. According to Imam Khushairi, it is purity safa. It is the purity of the inner and outer self of the Sufi or the person. In simple terms, it means purity of heart, purity of soul, and purity of mind. These are the 3 keys which makes a person a Sufi. All of us are in the broader gauge. They are in the narrow gauge. They are on the narrow meter, and we are on the broad gauge. So therefore, we follow the Quran and this namazullah pad liye chalte phirse nazar aaye. But whereas this is a line which is not a broad gauge, it is a meter gauge, and therefore only for the selected few. कल आप ये कोशिश करेंगे कि मैं सूफी बन जाऊंगा तो गलतफहमी में मुब्तला है, वैसा नहीं होता, right? So therefore, these people have defined Sufism like this. It is a journey from the mundane to the infinite. It is a journey from the mundane to the realm of spirituality. The lives of the Sufis were the lives of repentance, tawbah. 24 घंटे तौबा करते रहना. Haris Muazzam was the one who used to roam about in the jungle throughout the day, used to return to his residence, and used to do muhasabah of himself, examination. What mistakes I have committed in the day, and so that he can remove those mistakes which he is committing in the daytime, so that he can remain pure as far as possible. It is a life in which no emphasis is placed on the performance of the external rituals. No emphasis is placed on the performance of the external rituals, but on the activities of the inner self only. It is a narrow path and only for a selected few, as I said earlier. It revolves around, I cannot tell you all that. The gist is, it revolves around peer-murid relationship, that is master and student. It revolves around divine love. the key. Contemplation, zikr. Throughout the night बैठ के अल्लाह अल्लाह करना. Throughout the night बैठ के muraqibah करना. Right? And then it leads to beatific vision. That you will realize what is God, where is God, how is God, and everything will become very clear to you. What is the key? The key is Pir-Murid relationship, divine love, then the zikr, that is contemplation, then meditation, and then according to some Sufis also musical audience, sama. They used to say that sama suniye aap, aapko Allah mein aisa upar le jata hu. Wallah alam bi sawa. Right? What are the factors of the, this is what is Sufi. That's how the earlier Sufis have defined the Sufis. The people who are doing meditation all the time, whose hearts are pure, whose nafs is pure, whose talk is pure, who is always all the time afraid of the presence of God. The man who realizes that here is God, he is looking at me. If I am not looking at him, he is looking at me. That's the key for the Sufis. Then what are the factors of the growth of Sufism? There are three important factors. One is personal. Personal in the sense that everybody has the right to be nearer to God, to become spiritual, to become more divine and so on and so forth. That is the personal reason. Second important thing is over-intellectualism. Why Sufism have evolved? Because of the over-intellectualism of the scholars like the Mu'tazilites and the Asharites, who believed only in the concept of reason and not revelation, which led to lot of problems. The spirituality of Islam was looking in danger for them, and therefore as a reaction to that they have disassociated themselves from the society and have moved into a corner. It is a reaction against over intellectualism. It is a rebellion against the social justice. Firstly, its basis should be shot in, I have already told you that. And then, is it Islamic or not? A large number of people are of the opinion that it is not Islamic. Sufism is not Islamic. They say that it is born out of Christianity, Judaism, or as because of the impact of Hinduism and so on and so forth. But these are all only assumptions. The fact remains that it is Islamic. It is very much embodied in the Quran. It is very much there in the life of the Holy Prophet. And therefore, you should remember that it is not correct to say that it is not Islamic. It is definitely Islamic. But the fact is, how it is Islamic, what happened, and how it developed. The mankind is supposed to serve God day in and day out. हमारे से कसम ली गई थी अलस्तु बिरब्बिकुम, राइट? जब हम आदम अलैहिस्सलाम के पीरियड में जाएंगे, उससे पहले जब छोड़ रहे थे हमारे को ज़मीन पे, तो हमारे से अल्लाह मियाँ एक प्रॉमिस लिए थे, और ये प्रॉमिस लिए थे कि दैट यू शुड रिमेंबर दैट आई एम देयर, एंड ही सेड यस. एंड वो जो कसम है अलस्तु बिरब्बिकुम, फ्रॉम देयर यू कैन काउंट मैनकाइंड इज सपोज टू सर्व गॉड ओनली. हमारे को ज़मीन पे उतारा गया है अल्लाह मियाँ की खिदमत करने के लिए, राइट? खिदमत ये नहीं है नमाज रोज़ा हज ज़कात नहीं है. खिदमत क्या है? हलाल रोटी खाओ, हराम रोटी से बचो, सूद मत खाओ, सूद से बचो. ये है अम्मा बाबा की कदर करो, राइट? बीवी का एहतराम करो, बच्चों को पालो. This is some of the important basic things which are mentioned in the Quran as well as in the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet. You should remember that. All this, the mankind is supposed to serve God day in and day out, to praise Him, to admire Him and His creation. नदी बह रही है, मैं एक साइंटिस्ट से बोला ज़रा नदी का डायरेक्शन चेंज कर दीजिए. नो चांस, राइट? चुमटे ऐसा जा रहे थे जंगल में से, ज़रा सा पलटा दीजिए, नो चांस. सो वी कैनॉट से दैट ये बारिश हो रही है ज़रा रोक दीजिए, नो चांस, राइट? सुनामी आ गई, समंदर में से लहरें आते हैं, समंदर में लहरें वापस चले जाते हैं, मगर सुनामी आके 2 मिनट के ऐसे खड़े हो गई. देयर यू सी द गॉड. Otherwise, you simply cannot realize the God. It is in this. Therefore, we have to admire Him. Therefore, we have to praise Him. Therefore, we have to praise His creation. Right? The Sufi is born only for that and dies for that only. That's what is a Sufi. That's what is the gist of Sufism, right? Sensitive souls could not help being driven inwards and to look elsewhere for the spiritual peace. That was the beginning. Growth of Sufism. As I said earlier, it started from Kufa, and then it started from Basra and suburbs of Baghdad. Broadly speaking, there were three distinct stages of the development of the growth of Sufism. The first is called the period of quietist. Those people who are quiet all the time, did not bother about world, mundane affairs, and so on and so forth. This period is also referred to by other scholars as Sharia phase, right? Second important phase is the mystico-philosophical phase. Mystico-philosophical because by that time the Mu'tazilites, the Ash'arites and Muslim philosophers have developed. They were explaining the existence of God through reason. But whereas the Sufis were trying to explain God through their spiritual experience. That is the difference between the two. And as a result of that, what is important is, this mystico-philosophical phase is a phase in which a number of things developed within the gamut of the Muslim philosophy and within the gamut of Sufism, to which I will be coming in a due course of time. Then the third phase is the phase of Sufi orders, which is also referred to as Tariqa phase. The Tariqa phase is from 12th century onwards, comes up to 17th century, but from 17th century onwards, it is a Taifa phase according to Professor Trimingham. The first phase is Sharia phase. They remained within the confines of Sharia, did not go outside that. Second phase is the reaction against the philosophers who were explaining God, the attributes of God, and the Jannat and Dozakh, the life hereafter, and other things, which are all affairs of the other world in a philosophical way through reasoning only. But the Sufis reacted to that, and because they thought that spirituality of Islam is in danger, as a result of that, they started explaining the existence of God, the attributes of God, the Jannat and Dozakh, the life hereafter, and so on and so forth, out of their spiritual experience which they were going through. Right? That is the difference between the two phases. First phase is Sharia phase, quietist phase, or also second phase is the mystico-philosophical phase, which is also referred to others by others as Tariqa phase. The last phase is the phase of Taifa, which is saint culthood, which we are experiencing today. So I need to tell you that the life of the Sufis of the Sharia phase represent total commitment to Sharia, first and most important thing. Second important thing, a life of repentance only, all the time. Third important thing is, they were ever conscious of the sin and fear of hell. Okay. This phase is represented by Hassan Basri, Abu Hashim of Kufa, Ibrahim bin Adham, Shaqiq of Balakh, Rabia Basri, and Haris Muhasibi. I will not be able to explain their ideology and their Sufism because of time constraint. The period of mystical philosophical phase is a reaction to the Mu'tazilites school of Muslim philosophy, which based everything on the reason and not on revelation. It is represented by Hallaj, it is represented by Shibli, Bayezid Bistami, who was a Sukri saint. There are two schools of thought which emerged within the Sufism by the time we come to Abbasid period, the first 200 years of Abbasid period. One group of Sufis were intoxicated. Intoxicated बोलता मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि ठर्रा पीते थे. मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि there were people who were so absorbed in the love of God and the other world about their own deeds that they were intoxicated in the love of God. I can say that, right? There was other school was Sukri's. The Sukri school was represented by Bayezid Bistami, Shibli, Hallaj. Three important persons. There are many others. I am not going into the details of that. But the fact remains that the Sukris intoxicated people, what they have said, what is their ideology. Give me a frame of 1 minute. I will be coming to that. The other school of thought which developed within the Sufi gamut was the school of Sahwis, sobriety of mind. Junaid of Baghdad, represented by Junaid of Baghdad, Abdul Qadir Jilani, Sheikh Sahabuddin Sohrawardi, and many others. I cannot go on telling you, there are many others, large number of people are there, but these are the key people about whom I am going to talk. The Tariqa phase or the Sufi orders phase is the phase in which we have the number of Sufi orders, particularly the Chishtis, the Qadris, the Sohrawardis, the Junaidis, and the Naqshbandis. There are 14 Sufi orders. There are orthodox orders, there are unorthodox orders. That is, orthodox orders are 14 orders. It is called a Sufi family. It is called a Chauda Khanwadan. 14 Sufi orders. But out of the 14 Sufi orders, I cannot go on for telling you about all the 14 ones. The major Sufi orders which work particularly in Iran, in Iraq, in India, in Africa and other places are the Chishtis, the Qadris, the Sohrawardis, the Junaidis and the Naqshbandis. But this Tariqa phase, when it came to 17th century, became a phase which is called Taifa phase. It is only a saint culthood, what we are seeing today. It is only Jhele ki Rasam, Sandal Mali, this and that. I will come to that in the course of time. Let me tell you something about the chief characteristics of the Sufis of the three phases which I said, that is quite a phase, or the Sharia phase. Hasan-e-Basri, though he did not see the Prophet, but he met the companions and the companions of the companions, Sahaba, Tabain and Tabai Tabai, right? He represents a tendency towards the otherworldliness, piety, asceticism. He wrote a letter to the Umayyad Caliph, Umar bin Abdul Aziz, who was one of the most pious caliphs of the Umayyad dynasty. In his letter he writes, beware of this world. It is like a snake, smooth to touch, but its venom is dangerous. I would like to repeat the sentence, key sentence. Beware of this world, for it is like a snake, smooth to touch, but its venom is dangerous. He also wrote in the same letter, beware of this world, for its hopes are lies, its expectations are false. हम लोग 24 घंटे दुनिया में मलूस हैं. अल्लाह अल्लाह का तो कोई जिक्र ही नहीं है, कहीं नहीं है हम लोग. We are nowhere. I am not putting down everybody, sorry for that. But the fact remains is that a major population of Muslims, they are doing that. In the same letter, he also wrote to Umar bin Abdul Aziz, a great caliph of that particular time, one of the best caliphs because of his piety, religiosity, and so on and so forth. And as a result of that, he was known as Umar Sani, the second Umar. He wrote in that letter, he praised hunger and poverty as symbols of the righteous, and looked upon wealth as an evil. जितना पैसा आएगा उतना आप अंदर होंगे, जितना पैसा दे देंगे. The verse of the Quran says, whatever you have, please give it to them. जितना देंगे, the greatest piety, as long as we are alive, is the piety that you should serve the poor, the destitute and the needy. But बिल्कुल उल्टा चक्कर चल रहा. बिल्कुल लाइट के सिग्नल पे गाड़ी खड़े होती, बाद एक फकीर आ जाता, आते क्या बे काम नहीं है तेरे को, चल अच्छा हट्टा कट्टा है, कमाता क्यों नहीं. This is not the key. You will be in trouble. I am telling you honestly. And we will be great. We will be people who will be facing this. आज हंस रहे हैं, खा रहे हैं, पी रहे हैं, चलते फिरते नजर आ जाएंगे. जब चले जाएंगे, जब पता चलेंगे. राइट. जरा अभी आएंगे क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन, एक मिनट जरा सुन लीजिए. He praised, in that letter, he praised hunger and poverty as a symbol of the righteous, and looked upon wealth as an evil which distracts people from their rightful goals. He divided piety, Hasan-e-Basri divided piety into three. First piety, he said, is speak the truth. झूठ नहीं बोलो, सच्चाई बोलो. Second piety, he said, demands that man should control his bodily organs and refrain from things which God has forbidden. Second important piety. Third important piety, the final stage of piety is that he should desire only those things which lead to God's pleasure. Whether my God as a Islam, whether your God as a Christian or Hindu or Parsi or Buddhist, whatever it is, this is the truth. This is the truth of all the religions. I can tell you, I can vouch for you that this is the key, this is the road one has to follow. Whether we belong to any other religion, we are all human beings and nobody can harm anybody at any point of time. Then he also said, a little piety, no, sorry. He also said, little piety is better than the prayers and fasting of 1,000 years. Who said this? Hasan al-Basri. Please listen to this sentence. He also said, a little piety is better than the prayers and fasting of 1,000 years. Someone came to me and inquired, how do you feel in this world? किसके पास एक आदमी आया आके हसन बसरी से पूछा. हसन बसरी was a great person. He used to deliver lectures in the Jame Masjid of Basra. He belonged to the school of Ahle Hallo wa Lakhd. People who used to be determining things, everything, right? A person came and asked him, how do you feel in this world? He said, imagine a people in a boat which has capsized and everyone is trying to save himself by clinging to the broken pieces of the boat. क्या है? Imagine a people sitting in a boat. I feel myself that I am sitting in a boat and that the boat has capsized and it has broken into pieces and people are trying to cling and save their lives by holding on to those wood pieces. Such is the real position of the man in world. This is the key. The key is God's will shall become your will. The key is that the command of God should become your command. Whether it is Muslim command, Hindu command, Christian command, doesn't matter, but it matters to people who belong to that particular religion. There was another great Sufi apart from this, Abul Hasan. I have only told you the gist of that. I cannot go on telling you the details. The second important Sufi was Abu Hashim of Kufa. He lived in Kufa. His life is full of asceticism, zuhd, and piety. He once said, it is easier to pull down a mountain with the help of a needle than to remove vanity and arrogance from your body, from your one's heart. He said, it is easier to pull down the mountain with the help of a needle, but you cannot pull down, you cannot remove vanity and arrogance from one's heart. That was who? That was Abu Hashim of Kufa. On seeing a judge coming out of the house of a minister, please listen to this carefully and relate it to the present context. On seeing a judge coming out of the house of the minister, he said, may God protect people from the knowledge that does not lead to the benefit of humanity and mankind. What a sentence. The impact is so huge. We are talking about the whole of the humanity. We have to only believe you are there as a judge because you have that knowledge, so that your knowledge should come to the rescue of the poor and the destitute and the needy. And in Indian courts, crores of cases are pending for the last 20 years, 30 years. I am told there are some cases which have crossed 70 years. These are all Saivi Sukris who retained their posture, who retained their piety, they did not utter a word which went against the Sharia. These are the people of the Sharia faith. These are the Sufis of the Sharia faith. So the Sharia faith, the entire mysticism or Sufism remained puritanic as long as it remained within the confines of Arabia, maybe until the time of Sahaba, Tabain and Tabai Tabain, which is companions, the age of Holy Prophet, the age of companions, the companions of the companions and the companions of the companions. That is the age where you have the puritanic Sufism. One can see from the sayings which I have said just now. These are the people who belong to the Sukri school of mind, where the sanity of mind is retained. There is other school which developed, say, about 150 years in the due course of time after the establishment of the Abbasid dynasty, which is 750 to be precise. From 750 to 850 and 850 to 950, during these 200 years, as I said earlier, number of things happened. In that period, there were Sufis who were also Sukris. Sukris in the sense that they had become intoxicated in the love of God to such an extent that they uttered certain sentences which they do not realize what they have uttered. But apparently it is blasphemy. It is kufr. Some of them were hanged to death, like Mansur al-Hallaj. There are others, like Shibli, who were hanged to death. There are many others. I need not go into the details of that. About the Sukris, I will give you example of only two persons. First is Bari-i Bastami. He represents the Sukri school of thought within mysticism. Bayezid was a Persian Muslim whose ancestors were Zoroastrians, Agparas jo hote hain, right? In his early life, he was a jurist and belonged to the Hanafi school of Islamic law. You are all aware of the fact that we have the four Sunni schools of Islamic law, which are also referred to as mazhabs. Mazhab se matlab Islam nahi hai, matlab hai school of law. Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i and Hanbali. These are the four Sunni schools of law. He was a Hanafi by mazhab, who were represented the Hanafis were represented by the Ahle Ar-Rai, the school which was established in Kufa, where from the birth of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shaybani, Imam Shaybani and Abu Yusuf, and then we have the author of Hidayah and many others who gave great juristic fatwas to all of us. The first 30 years of Bari-i Bistami, he wandered in deserts of Syria. He spent 30 years of his life in Syria, in deserts, with scanty sleep, scanty food and scanty drink. Kam khurdan, kam sokhtan, kam guftan. Tarrao mat, suno khali. Right? खूब दबा के बिरयानियाँ मत खाओ, सादा खाना खाओ. तीसरी चीज क्या है? पूरी रात पड़े मत रहो, बिरयानी खा के सो मत, जागो रहो. He once said, a mystic can reach his goal through blindness. Bari-i Bistami said, one can reach his goal only through blindness, deafness and dumbness. He states, for the first 12 years I treated myself, that is nafs, heating and beating to remove the malama till it became a mirror. I did that as a smith does with the material, with the hatoda. Then after that 12 years, 5 years I was busy polishing the mirror with different kind of religious practices. Then I found everything dead before myself except God alone. In a state of sukr, he said, what is arsh? Arsh, kursi. Wasiya kursiyu samawati wal arsh. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. Ayatul kursi jo hai. In a state of sukr, he said, what is arsh? It is I. What is chair? Kursi, it is I. What is table and pen? It is I. What are the prophets like Ibrahim, Moses and Muhammad? They are all I. This is a statement which is dangerous. Apparently, outwardly, anybody will hang you in a minute. Particularly the Orthodox ulama of that time. Explaining further, he remarked, 12 years, 5 years, beating and beating, then polishing the mirror. When the mirror becomes a mirror, you can see yourself. Only you can see if your heart, your nafs has become a mirror in which you are reflected. Until then, a Sufi has to work. Explaining it further, he remarked that whoever becomes annihilated in God finds that whatever is God. ये sentence फिर से सुनिए. Explaining it further, he remarked that whoever becomes annihilated in God finds that whatever is God. Bari-i Bistami was the first Sufi, again Sukri Sufi, who said that my mystical experience is Miraj, ascension. He is relating to the ascension of the Holy Prophet. Dangerous for Orthodox ulama. When I attained the stage of indifference towards this world, I was lightened with the light of God. That's what bari-i Sukri has said. Several mysteries were revealed to me, he also said. These are the statements which were made under intoxication, intense love of God. Apparently very dangerous, where a alim will straight away say, you are a kafir, you cannot be a Muslim. But the fact is, in a state in which he is saying this, but he does not know what he is saying. He is overcome by the love and grace of God at that stage. Second important Sukri Sufi was Mansur al-Hallaj. In a state of intoxication, he said the famous word, Anal Haq, I am the created truth. On yet another occasion, he advocated the destruction of Kaaba. One of his disciples was in Makkah at that time. He wrote a letter to his disciple Shakir, and he said in this letter, inverted commas, begin, destroy Kaaba, inverted commas, close. Meaning, not that you go and pull down that building which is standing Kaaba. The idea was, sacrifice your life for the sake of God, as I do. You have to sacrifice everything in you for the sake of God. That was the statement. He was blamed with blasphemy and was hanged to death. These are some of the statements which came from Bari-i Bistami. He was put to death. Then we have the Then we have the Saivi school, which is represented by Junaid of Baghdad. The Saivi school represented by Junaid of Baghdad, he was well versed in theology, jurisprudence and ethics. He advocated the principles of sobriety of mind as opposed to intoxication. He said intoxication is an evil because it disturbs the normal state of mind and the sanity of mind. And therefore, Junaid refused to admit Mansur al-Hallaj as his disciple. Hallaj came to Junaid and wanted to become his disciple, but he said, no, I cannot make you my disciple because you are a Sukri and you cannot be with me because I represent a different school of thought altogether. According to Junaid of Baghdad, a person can truly traverse the path of tariqah who walks with the book of God in his right hand and who walks with the sunnah of the noble prophet in his left hand. Otherwise, you will not be able to reach reality. You will not be able to realize what's happening. According to him, the only safe path open to people is the path laid down by the noble prophet, and true and sure knowledge is the knowledge which is revealed in the Quran and enunciated by the noble prophet. There was another great Sufi, Abdul Qadir Jilani. Abdul Qadir Jilani was Hanbali by school. Hanbali school is one of the most orthodox schools of the four Sunni schools of Islamic law. He lived during the Saljuk period. It is a period of turmoil for Islam and Islamic history and Muslims because Halagu Khan, Genghis Khan were attacking Baghdad at that point of time. That was about 1258. These events influenced his thought, which can be seen in his famous book entitled Ghunyatu Talibin. He said knowledge is of three types. The first knowledge is knowledge which is achieved by inference. The second knowledge is knowledge which comes through perception or observation. And the third knowledge is the knowledge which comes by personal experience and intuition. In Arabic, they are called Ilmul Yaqeen, Ainul Yaqeen, and Haqqul Yaqeen. The one who achieves the third stage, that is Haqqul Yaqeen, a person who attains the stage of intuition, Haqqul Yaqeen, is far superior to a man who has many ritualistic practices to his credit. He is a different person altogether. Sufism, according to Suleman, is characterized by two things. The first thing is, one is the practice of the noble prophet, and the second is, the second is heart ascetic practices of their life, that is prayers, night vigils, meditation and contemplation. During the 12th century, Khaja Muhyiddin Ibn al-Arabi gave the concept of Wahdatul Wujud, that is ontological unity of all being. One of the, again, great Sufis, who is the author of Hususul Hikam and many other books. But listen to me carefully. He was the one who advocated the concept of Wahdatul Wujud, ontological unity. That is, unity in diversity. That was the basic concept which he gave. One day I was standing I was standing on Marine Drive, and I started counting the waves which were coming from the sea. For a common man, I can explain ontological unity only like this. I counted maybe 12 or 15 in a minute. They came and they went back, but all the 12 were the part of the same sea. हैं 12 मगर है एक ही. Unit, though diversity, but it is unity. Then around the 15th century, another person came. His name is Alauddin Simnani, who is represented in India by Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi, Mujaddid al-Fasani, the reformer of the second millennium in India. He was resident of Delhi. This Alauddin Simnani gave a different concept altogether, which is called Vaidatu Shuhud, that is, unity of witness. My student asked me, how will you explain this? I said, I will explain this by standing opposite to a mirror. Though I am there in the mirror, but I am not there. I am here, outside the mirror. In the mirror, it's only an image of mine. That is the image, but the truth is here. So there were conflicts and reconflicts in the due course of time. What I am trying to explain you is, as Islam progressed, as Muslims progressed, as Islamic history progressed, they were imbibing the local cultures, local languages, local races, local people, all that in the due course of time, from Iran, Afghanistan, Samarkand, Bukhara, India, on the west, from Egypt, then from North Africa, then into Spain, then into, during the period of Suleman the Magnificent, right up to Italy. The biggest world of Islam is from Italy to Samarkand and Bukhara, apart from the various islands which we have in the south of India, right, or in the downside of the India. Huge period and number of people at that particular time. So there were, in the due course of time, what I am trying to tell you is, this puritanic Sufism seems to have disappeared, but however people of the Tariqa phase, they continue to remain there. There was a person, a great scholar in India, his name is Shah Waliullah, Muhaddis Dehlavi. Shah Waliullah was born in 1703 and died something around 1765 or so at a young age. But he is a great theologian, a great mystic of the 18th century India. He tried to bring about a reconciliation, reapproach between the Wujudis and the Shuhudis. He tried to bring about a reapproachment between the two schools of thought, one represented by Muhyiddin Ibn al-Arabi and the other represented by Alauddin Simnani, and in India by Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi. He tried to bring about a reapproachment between the two schools of thought. He was the one who tried to bring about a reapproachment between the Muhaddisin and the Mufassirin. He was the one who tried to bring about a reapproachment between the four Sunni schools of Islamic thought. He was the one who gave the concept of talfiq. Talfiq is that whatever is best between the four schools, any Muslim can adopt that. Right? For himself, Imam Shafi'i says, आप मगरिब इशा मिला के पढ़ लो. For Imam Shafi'i says, असर और जोहर और असर मिला के पढ़ लो. आपको वो अच्छा दिखता तो आप वो अडॉप्ट कर लो. That is what is talfiq, right? So Shah Waliullah's personality is a 20th century personality which lived in 18th century. One has to read Shah Waliullah to know what a man was born at that particular point of time. In fact, he said, to avoid contradictions, you can adopt any one of the four schools, whatever good practices are there within Sufism or within Islam or within theology, you can adopt anything. Sufism reached India through Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan. The four main Sufi orders which flourished during that particular period were the Chistis, the Sohrawardis, the Naqshbandis and the Khadris. In India, I am coming to our place. All the Sufis of these orders are Sufis of the Khanqa stage, that is, surrender to God. They attached great importance to the love of God, resignation, piety, and asceticism. Their teaching embody love for the eternal truth, eternal beauty, and eternal goodness. They looked upon hunger, poverty as symbols of the righteous and wealth as an evil. The early Chishti Khanqahs at Ajmer, Pakpatan, Ajodan, and Delhi were the focal points of the propagation of Islam because it revolved around all these Sufis of these four places which I have mentioned, that is Pakpatan, Ajmer, Pakpatan, Ajodan, and Delhi were the focal points because they revolved around spirituality, fervor, ascetic exercises, morality, mystic training. They were intended to build a moral and spiritual culture in the society at that particular point of time. Khaja Moinuddin Chishti to Nizamuddin Auliya to Baba Fariduddin Ganshakar or to Bakhtiyar Kaki, or as a matter of fact Nasiruddin Chiragh Deri, where the Chishti line comes to an end, all these five great mystics, they were the people who were trying to bring about morality, ethics in the society at that particular point of time. They were more concerned with mystic training, ascetic exercises, fervor and spirituality. They were intended to build moral and spiritual culture in the society, to establish cordial relations with all men without the distinction of caste, creed and religion, to strive purification of their inner self. There was no rich or poor. There was no Harijan or there was no Brahman. There was no such thing for them. For all the five, from Moinuddin Chishti to Nasiruddin Chiragh Delhi, they, without the distinction of caste, creed and religion, they were to abstain from things which produce evil effect, to learn the value of time. हमारे कहने आज भी value of time का concept नहीं है. I am talking of the 12th century. They speak about the value of time. They used to extend hospitality to the visitors. They used to welcome the high and low, the rich and the poor, the Muslim and the non-Muslims. Khaja Moinuddin Chishti said, his master Khaja Usman Harwani said, one who possesses these three qualities is the man who is closer to God. Generosity like the generosity of an ocean. What did he say? You should possess generosity like the generosity of an ocean. You should possess compassion like the compassion of the sun. And he said, and humility like the humility of the earth. These are the three things which bring you close to the Almighty God, and Almighty God starts loving you. The highest form of devotion for Moinuddin Chishti was to redress the miseries of those who are in distress. गरीबों को देखना. To redress the misery of those who are in distress, to fulfill the need of the helpless, and to feed the hungry. These are the three important things which he preached during his time in the society. These three principles became the founding stones of his successors. Khaja Moinuddin Chishti's entire thought process revolved around the following three principles. The first principle is, when we transcend the external and looked around, we found the lover, the beloved, and the love itself to be one and the same. Again, the Wahdatul Wujud concept, which is ontological unity of all being, that is unity in diversity. Defining the concept of devotion to God, Tat Khaja Moinuddin said, to redress the miseries of those in distress, to fulfill the need of the helpless, and to feed the hungry. Sheikh Fariduddin Ganj said, a Sufi is who keeps himself free from impurities, does not let anything defile him. The basic aim of the Chishtis was to create love of God, respect for the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet. They strongly believed in unity and diversity. They insisted upon and said, the service to humanity is the essence of religion. They strongly believed in the happiness of human beings lies in contentment, qinaat. मेरे घर में एक मोटर काफ़ी है, नहीं मेरे घर में 5-6 गाड़ियाँ खड़ी हुई हैं. मेरे घर में एक फ्रिज काफ़ी है, 6-6 फ्रिज रखे हुए हैं. Right? Contentment is the key. That's what he said. Patience. Second important key is sabr, patience, total patience. He strongly believed in the recitation of the Holy Quran and the Hadith loudly, silently, with meaning or without meaning, but the recitation of the Quran and Hadith is essential, he said. It is reported by Gesudaraz in his one of his books. He said, what all I have achieved in my life is I have achieved it because of the extension recitation of the Quran and long listening to the sama, musical audience. Burhanuddin Gharib, one of the Sufis of Khuldabad, he travelled to Delhi to the mazar of his peer, Sheikh Nasiruddin Chirag Dehlevi. He remained in Delhi for a period of 1 month, and it is reported that he finished 100 Qurans at the grave of his peer in 1 month. That's what is the recitation of the Quran. That's what is the love for the peer and so on and so forth. It is also reported the Chishti avoided the company of the sultans. They refused to take inam lands, jagirs, gardens, or as a matter of fact, anything which in cash and kind. They strongly believed in futuh, anas for charity. Their khanqahs with hundreds of murids and khulafa used to run. They used to advise their disciples to go to the jungle and collect the wood and bring it and sell it and then cook the food. In the Khanqa of Bandanawaz, they used to cook rice without salt, and they used to eat it with anything which was available to them. Only through futuh, only by anas for charity which comes to the Khanqa, they used to eat that. They will never touch anything which is given by the ruler, by the nobility, by the rich, or by, as a matter of fact, by the poor, those who came from outside. Once Alauddin Khilji sent a farman with donating few villages to Sheikh Nizamuddin Awliya. The Sheikh declined to accept and said, I do not behave. It did not behove the Darwish to have orchards and villages to look after. Sheikh Fariduddin in Ganjisakar, it is reported that 30,000 tankas, golden coins were sent by one of the rulers. He refused to accept. The man went back and reported the matter to the Sultan, and he said, add another 30,000. He added another 30,000, it became 60,000 gold coins. He brought it again, and he said, you either accept it or the ruler says that you will be chopped off. He said, keep it outside my khanqa. Don't enter my khanqa residence. He kept it and left. It is reported that he advised his disciples and khulafa to distribute everything before the Maghrib prayers. Everything was distributed. He stood up for the prayers, said Allahu Akbar, and then he said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. A senior, he did it for 5-6 times. A senior Khalifa went and asked him, sir, I am performing this namaz for the last 40 years behind you. I have never seen you do this act. What is the reason? He said, go and see. There is something which is lying, which is un-Islamic, unlawful. They took the khandils and searched, and they said nothing is there. He took the khandil by his hand. He removed the door, and behind the door there was a coin. He took that golden coin and threw it outside its khanqa and performed the prayers and wept for 3 days and 3 nights and said, what is the reason? He said, I have touched an unlawful coin. हमारे कने कुछ ख्याल है lawful और unlawful का. 2 करोड़ रुपए पे एक वलीमा हो रहा. आप खा रहे हैं जाके, ये नहीं पूछ रहे हैं हलाल है, कहाँ से आए भाई 2 करोड़ तेरे कने. मैं आज तक 5 लाख रुपए एक साथ नहीं देखा. There are many who will be sitting here who have not seen even 2 lakhs at a time. But 5 crore ki dawat, what nonsense. Where are we moving? Which direction are we going? Anyway, need not go into that. Okay. Sheikh Nasiruddin Chirag Darwi said there are two types of abuses. What are they? One is jarrid, the other is muqallid. Muqallid is one who has no master. Jarrid is one who visits the kings nobles and the rich people asking for money. Did you find that? Did you get the point? Mukhallid is one who has no fear. He roams about this direction, that direction, no idea where he is going. The second one is one who goes to the kings, the sultans, the nobles, and the rich people and ask money for them from the courts or from them. As time passed on, by the end of the 17th century, Sufism passed into Taifa phase. These are the things which I am talking to you about the Tariqa phase, that is Sufi orders. They were puritanic, they retained the elements of Sharia, element of piety, element of Zuhud, element of Kam Khurdan, Kam Khoktan, Kam Guftan. From 12th century, it almost was there up to the 16th century. But from 16th century, within that order phase, there are no more orders. The same orders are there. They went into Taifa phase, that is the phase called saint culthood. What is happening on the dargahs today, or what is happening on the mazars of the divines of Sheikh Nizamuddin Awliya, Fariduddin Ganj Shakar, Banda Nawaz, and hundreds and thousands of dargahs which are found in north, south, east and west of India. It is called Taifa phase, it is called saint, it is a phase of saint culthood through which we are passing. The body remains, the soul has disappeared. The body remains, but the soul has disappeared. It is the age of superstitious practices. It is the age of customs and rituals. It is the age of sandal processions at the dargah. It is the age of Jhele ki rasam, sandal mali. It is the age of hawali. It is the age which is all superstitious. It is not true with Sufism. It is true with all the four Sunni schools of Islamic law. It is also true with the philosophers, or if there are any philosophers at all, or logic and so on and so forth. So therefore, it is a phase of decline and disintegration of mysticism, Islam and Muslims. Did you get the point? Arabic and Persian, in which we have the best material available about Quran, Hadith, Tafsir, Fiqh and Sufism, all the descendants of the Sufis, or all the descendants of the ulama, or all the descendants of the great philosophers, they do not know Persian and Arabic. If they do not know Persian and Arabic, how would they read that? How would they understand that? Failing to understand, how would they communicate this? Which I have told you just now, during the last half an hour or so. Also, you should remember, the present day, also the so-called Orientalist, sorry for using that word, the so-called Orientalists are calling that it is a age of popular Sufism. When there is no Sufism, where is the question of popular Sufism? It is not popular Sufism. It is popular customs, popular rituals and so on and so forth. There is no question of popular Sufism. Sufism popular होता क्या? आप थोड़े दिन के बाद बोलेंगे सर कुरान शरीफ पॉपुलर कुरान शरीफ, फिर उसके बाद बोलेंगे हदीस पॉपुलर हदीस. The fact remains that a large number of Muslims today neither know Arabic language nor the Persian language, leave alone Arabic and Persian. The younger generation is not aware of the Urdu language. When my bhanja came, speak to me in French. I said, what nonsense? I said, you speak in Urdu. He said, I do not know Urdu. As simple as that. Right? Our young generation has no idea of Urdu language, in which we have huge literature for the last 200 years or so in the field of Quran, Tafsir, Hadith, Fiqh, Muslim philosophy and Sufism. So as a net result, what I am trying to tell you is, this has all become defunct, irrelevant. There is no question now. What do we do? Can we translate all that which was produced in 200 years in these fields, in Urdu, into English now? And even the Urdu University is doing translation. They are doing the machine translation, where half is correct, half is wrong. Sorry, I am not supposed to say that, but still the fact remains that a large number of Muslims, even 75% of Muslims, they simply do not know what is Sufism. They do not know which are the Sufi orders. They do not know what is Bashara and Beshara orders. But still they proudly say Sufism. They do not know who were the great Sufis I have spoken to you just now about. Only few. Leave alone the Quran and Hadith, the basics. The Arabs and Persians race, which learnt Greek language and other languages, they translated and transformed the entire Greek literature into Arabic. And as a result of that, the huge progress which I told you about the Umayyad period and the Abbasid period took place. Only because of the translations. The first 100 years of the Abbasid dynasty, 750 to 850, are known only for translations only, from Greek to Arabic. When all the philosophy, logic, trigonometry, mathematics which was there, a number of Hindu translators were invited, a number of mathematicians from India were invited because of the value of the zero and because of the trigonometry, because of the logic and so on and so forth. All that was translated and transformed into Arabic, which brought about a revolution in Islam and Muslims, which I have told you in the beginning itself. Reason and innovation has been replaced with superstitious practices, blind following, and no concept inquiry or innovation. This is not true of Sufism alone. This is true of Quran, Hadith, Tafsir and Fiqh. One last sentence. The Quran says, it will help only those who help themselves. But we are not ready to help ourselves. Thank you very much. The lecture is open. Anybody would like to have question answers, please?
Coming to the name of Nasiruddin Chiragh Dahlvi, you said that here the Chishti order comes to an end or something like that. What do you mean by that?
By that I mean the first phase of the Chishtis in India was over. After that, his people came to Daulatabad, Kuldabad and established their own thought, and the thought of the Nasiruddin Chiragh Dahlvi is carried by Zainuddin. It is carried by Zarzari Zarbakhsh, then his brother Burhanuddin Gharib, then by Sheikh Zainuddin Shiraz. They continued the same teachings at Daulatabad and Kuldabad. And similarly, the disciple of Sheikh Nasiruddin Chiragh Dahlvi came to Gulbarga his name is Banda Nawaz, and he continued. He is the author of 105 books in the field of Sufism.
Dekhiye, mashallah, you've given so many facts.
Yes.
Now, the title is The Past and the Present. Now, please, you ended on a conclusion. What about the future? Just a few of your thoughts.
It's a dangerous question. The key is knowledge. Until and unless this community educates itself, we will be nowhere. Asaduddin Owaisi is my student. He came to my house once and he said, when he was leaving and putting his sherwani back, "Sir, give me an advice of one line." I said, "Go and teach the old city." That's all. Until and unless we teach our people our own religion and the science, the trigonometry, the mathematics के टीचर्स नहीं है सर. स्कूल में पढ़ाने के लिए टीचर नहीं मिल रहा. Leave alone universities. We do not have any philosopher. We are not able to produce even one Imam of Hanifa, or we are not able to produce one philosopher like Al-Kindi, Al-Farabi, Al-Ghazali. So the future looks obscure and dangerous.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad Sarwar.
Yes.
And my question to you is, first of all, thank you for the lecture, and the information was very vast and very good. And my question to you is, where can we find the peer, the guide, who follows the Sahaba, Tabain and Tabe Tabain, so that we can get benefit from them?
अब ये दौर आ गया है that you have to search for the peer, number one. है अभी भी लोग, ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं है, मगर वो छुपे हुए लोग हैं. वो अपने अपने खानखाओं में कमरों में बंद हैं. For instance, I went to Deoband the other day from Delhi for a manuscript, searching for a manuscript, and I found one man sitting in a room with no less than 2,000 books in Arabic and Persian, with a beard like this, very old man, sitting like this, and doing Allah Allah for the whole day, and reading and writing the books. So you can find, but where you will find and where will be the man, I cannot give the answer.
You have explored a lot about the relationship of an individual with God.
Yes,
A little less, but adequately about relationship with oneself, but very little about the relationship of one human with another.
yes, you are
in
right.
society,
You are right.
and almost nothing between the relationship of oneself and nature.
Yes.
Can you expand a little bit about what Sufism
Yes.
says about the relationship between people and between people and nature?
Yes. Sorry for that. I missed out on that. You are absolutely correct. The fact remains that the basic fundamental Sufism and Sufis of the Sharia phase, or as a matter of fact also of the Tariqa phase, they were the people, for them, the first concern was their relationship with God. The second concern was their relations with the people whom they are living. And the third important thing was their relationship with the humanity at large. That is the key part of Sufism. Sorry, I missed on that. Yes.
Sir, thank you for the lecture. Every thought process is finding it convenient to degenerate into some sort of fundamentalism as well as like superstitions and all. So how can we avoid that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Kindly, please repeat your question again.
Basically, every thought process is finding it convenient or rather degenerating into superstitions as well as fundamentalism.
Yes.
So, irrespective of any this thing, right from west or east or everywhere, we are
yes.
finding every philosophy is finding it very, very convenient to just degenerate. So, how do we counter that?
The fact is that the spiritual, as I said, the body remains and the soul has disappeared. But the fact remains that there are people and individuals still in Islam, in Muslims, among the Hindus, Hinduism, Christianity, Buddhism, and so on and so forth. There are people who still reach the reality. Not that everything has vanished. The fact remains that one has to come back to the reality or come back to the religion only provided. सर एक सेंटर था महाराष्ट्र में, आई एम फॉरगेटिंग दैट, ड्यूरिंग द आदिल शाही पीरियड, हिंदू सेंटर, great intellectual center was there. I am forgetting about the name of that particular center. Huh? Anybody? Okay. So that particular center at that place, all the Hindu matters relating to marriage, divorce, inheritance were not done by the rulers according to the Islam or Islamic law. It is Pandharpur in Maharashtra, which was the big intellectual center, religious center. All the matters were referred to them at that particular point of time. The fact is, how do you revive that? Depends on the individuals. I cannot say in a sentence generally that how would you revive your Hinduism, or how would I revive my ethics or the ethics of the people and so on and so forth. We have degenerated to a great level. It is not true with Islam or Muslims. It is not true with Hindu or Hinduism. It is true with almost all religions. We have degenerated to a level. I will not say it is difficult to come back, but the fact is it depends on the individuals, not on me alone, or as a matter of fact on any Sufi. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you so much for your lecture. I wanted to ask you, what is your opinion about English-speaking scholars that are popular today, like Sheikh Hamza Yusuf in Zaytuna Institute, or from Cambridge, Dr. T.J. Winters, who is now known as Hakim Murad. They highlight a lot of Sufi thought in their lectures. So I just wanted to know what your opinion is of their kind of revival of, Sufism
Yes.
in their lectures.
एक मेरा भांजा है, कनाडा में रहता है, ही इज ए बिग लॉयर, And he and his wife, both of them went to Turkey and became the disciple of a great murid, a great sheikh. And they visit that particular sheikh every day. Earlier, he was totally orthodox. He was a pure Islamic, Jamaat Islami का man और तबलीगी का आदमी था वो आदमी जाके जो है सूफी के पास बैठ गया उनकी गोद में. Nothing wrong. Maybe time will tell what is the story. But the fact remains that people are trying to not revive Sufism, but they are trying to revive the spirituality of Islam. You can call it theology, you can call it spiritualism, you can call it Sufism. But there are individuals in Africa, in Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia and Libya who are divines of great value. Even today, there are people. Likewise, in Europe and America, there are people who are divine people, in Turkey especially, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia particularly. There are people, there are individuals who are trying to revive Islam, who are trying to revive the Sunnah of the noble Prophet, the teachings of the Quran and so on and so forth, trying to bring about orthodoxy from the mundane values which we are cherishing. Yes.
Any example to what you just said? Trying to revive Sufism. Just give me an example.
Yes, I'm forgetting the name of the person who is in Turkey. He is a big sheikh today, and he has disciples from all over Europe and all over America. Large number of people come to him from America. I have forgotten his name. There is another one whom Asaduddin Owaisi has linked himself. There are a number of others. I don't have the memory on names. Sheikh Aris, sorry. Inna lillah. Yes.
सलाम अलैकुम.
वालेकुम सलाम.
मुझे अंग्रेजी अच्छी नहीं आती.
नहीं आप उर्दू
समझ
बोलिए, मैं
जाता
उर्दू
हूँ
बोलता हूँ.
मैं आपसे
जी.
तस्वुर शेख और ख़त्म नबूवत के बारे में इब्न अरबी के फ़लसफ़े का कुछ माखज़ चाहता हूँ.
यार मैं इब्न अरबी का माखज़ ख़त्म नबूवत पे तो मैं आपको कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा. इट विल कुछ भी अगर निकल गया उल्टा सीधा तो बोलेंगे सर काफिर हो गया है. मगर मैं आपको तस्वुर शेख के ऊपर ज़रूर बोल देता हूँ. तस्वुर शेख इन इंडिया ऑल्सो वॉज वेरी important thing, particularly among the Naqshbandis, not among the Chishtis or Qadris or Sohrawardis, but particularly among the Naqshbandis, particularly Baqi Billah and his person, his disciple and Khalifa who propagated the Naqshbandiya teachings in India, that is Mujaddid al-Fasani. Tasawwur Sheikh is a great important thing in the maslak of the Naqshbandis. Nothing about the Nabuwa. जी
कुछ बात कर
जरा वो रिपीट करिए फिर से. जी. Yes, this has been drawn from the very basic, from the times of the Prophet himself. There were a number of Sahaba companions who used to follow 100% 24/7 the noble Prophet all the time. Whether it is Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, Ali or various other Sahaba companions of the Holy Prophet. It is drawn from there. There is no verse in the Quran which speaks about disciple-special relationship or pir murid, right? But the concept is very much there, which is from the times of the noble Prophet. It continued all over the place, particularly among the Naqshbandis who brought this order from Central Asia, Samarkand, Bukhara to India. They are the people who lay great emphasis upon the disciple-special relationship.
That was a very comprehensive lecture covering a vast area. But I want to ask you, what do you think about Iran? What is happening in Iran? Are there many Sufis, Sufi orders?
Are you talking of the present times?
Yeah.
Yes. Iran was a very important center for mysticism and Sufism in the beginning, say somewhere around the 8th and 9th century. particularly during the Safavid period. After the Safavid period, during the period of Khachars and during the periods of the Pahlavi, there was one important Sufi orders of the Nehmatullahis. The founder of the Nehmatullahi Sufi orders was Shah Nehmatullah Wali Shah Kirmani of Kirman Mahan in Iran. Then similarly, we have different other Sufi orders which I don't remember right now. There were a number of Sufi orders in Iran, but their maslak is different from the maslak of the people of the later phase. Because there appears to be a Shia impact, because Shah Ismail declared Shiism in 1501 and it became the state religion, and from there it continued up till the fall of the Khachars. Even during the period of Pahlavis, even now, after 1975, Shiism is the religion. It is a religion which speaks of Isna Sharis, the 12 Imams, right? They lay great emphasis on prophethood, they lay great emphasis on the Quranic teachings and so on and so forth. They are Khadri, the most important order was the Khadri order, which in fact was the sub-branch of Abdullah Yafai, going back to the ancient period. The fact remains that today we have orders, but we do not know which are the orders. There are a number of orders which are working in Iran and in and around the people, in and around Persia, and they have great followers in their baggy.
सर आपके ख्याल में सूफीज़म का कॉन्सेप्ट या तारीफ जो नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम और उनके सहाबा के दौर में थी वो एज इट इज़ रही या अलग अलग वक्तों पे चेंज होते रही?
बोला ना सर, शरिया फेज, तरीक़ा फेज, ताइफा फेज, तीनों बताया ना आपको.
देखिए सूफीज़म का जो आपके जहन में जो नजरिया है,
सर प्यूरिटैनिक सूफीज़म क्वाइट स्पेस शरिया फेज तक है. उसके बाद एज दे वेंट अबाउट ईरान, इराक, सेंट्रल एशिया, इंडिया, they went into Egypt, they went into Spain, and during the Ottoman period it went into up to Italy and so on and so forth. The whole concept diluted. The concept of Sufism, puritanic concept of Sufism, Sufism based on Sharia, remained only during the Sharia phase or the Quietist phase, earlier phase. But as they went outside Arabia, in Iran, Iraq and other places, they started imbibing the local customs, the local practices and so on and so forth. There was a great impact on the field of Sufism itself.
तो सूफीज़म को मानना नहीं मानना इसका ईमान से कितना ताल्लुक है?
नहीं बिल्कुल मानना, क्यों नहीं मानना, कुरानिक है, इस्लामिक है. अब क्या कर रहे हैं दरगाहों के ऊपर उसको मत मानिए.
आज के जो मौजूदा उलमा है जैसा जावेद अहमद गामदी है, सूफीज़म को बिल्कुल डिस्कार्ड करते हैं.
हाँ सर, suppose there are people who are always in Islamic age from the beginning to the down this period. There are two groups. One is in favor of Islam, in favor of Sufism. The other is opposed to Islam and opposed to Sufism. So what? आपका अकीदा क्या है, मेरा अकीदा क्या है? मैं उस सूफीज़म मौलाना मौदूदी बोले, सॉरी बाहर जाके मत बोलिए, मौलाना मौदूदी बोले, मैं उस तसव्वुफ को मानता हूँ जो शरीयत के दायरे में है. मैं उस तसव्वुफ को नहीं मानता which is outside the gamut of the Sharia. I hope I have made the point clear. Rabia Basri was a great lady Sufi, and she stayed in a room for more than 14 years. And it is reported that one day she came out of the room and she was having fire in her right hand and the water in the left hand. She was running fast. People stopped her and asked, "What? After 14 years you have come out of the room and you are carrying fire in the right hand and the water in the left hand?" She said, "I am carrying this water so that I can pour it on the paradise. There should be no paradise. And this fire I am taking so that I can burn the paradise, and I am taking this water so that I can pour it on the Jahannam, so that there is no Jahannam fire." The true Sufi is one who has the concept of disinterested love. Is the theory given by Rabia Basri. Neither you should worship God for the sake of Jannat, nor you should worship God for the sake of Dozakh. As simple as that.
Sir, very quickly here.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you, first of all, thank you for delivering this lecture. It was quite exhaustive. You have brought a lot of academic works also. So my question is, what is the future of Sufism? You did mention about the past and present, but what about the future? Because in this present era and culture that we see demolition, digging, even that there are attacks on dargahs as well. So what will be the future of Sufism in the
This is-
given context?
Masjid tod do, dargah tod do, this is a passing phase. Don't worry about anything. Nothing will happen. Sometimes आपको मेरे को डराएंगे और क्या करेंगे उससे बढ़ के मेरी मस्जिद तोड़ देंगे मेरी खानका तोड़ देंगे अल्लाह मियाँ उनको तोड़ देते हैं आप याद रखो डोंट वरी एट ऑल दिस इज ओनली ए पासिंग फेज तारीख में हिस्ट्री रिवाइज इटसेल्फ तारीख अपने आप को बदलती है ये दौर जाता वो दौर आता वो दौर जाता ये दौर आता बट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन दिस दरगाह ऑल ओवर इंडिया फ्रॉम जम्मू एंड कश्मीर टू कन्याकुमारी फ्रॉम ईस्ट टू वेस्ट is superstitious practices, rituals, customs. Only this is happening. The real ruh of Sufism has died. Any more questions? Thank you.
Professor Suleman Saab, thank you so much for enlightening us today. And I have to tell you this, that Professor Siddiqi has probably spent more years and decades researching on Sufism than anybody else alive. Okay, he has gone to the original sources, especially Deccan Sufis. Everything that we know of Deccan Sufis, okay, as readers of English, is directly or indirectly attributed to his work. He's translated their original sources into English, into Urdu, etc. And his work in Deccan Sufis has been seminal. And at great cost and at great effort, when he would go to Bidar, he told me that there were no hotels there. So he actually used to sleep between two graves of the dargah itself every night and eat at the dargah itself, where they, actually give out food to the other mendicant. Bagara Khan and Dal Cha there. And aaj bhi wahi, yeah, okay. We'll have the same food today as well after this. And he, actually when he started his work, this is just anecdote about from his life, he actually bought a Yazdi, okay? And he attached two big boxes to it, in which he'd put all his research material and go to all these places to Aurangabad, Gulbarga, Bidar, etc. So we are really it's amazing to have a resource like him amidst us, and you're free to also approach him now after I conclude today's session and talk to him about the work that he's done, and if you have any specific questions about this. I have a very close connection with him. He's like my chacha, he's worked with Abba for a very long time. And so there are a lot of these stories about his work which I have heard from Abba himself, of what it dedicated. And the thing is, the thorough professionalism with which he has contributed to our understanding of Dakhni Sufi especially, and Sufism in general. And the last thing that I will tell you is this, that this, because it's memorial of Anwar Moazzam, whose death anniversary was a week ago, so we had proposed that he should do this lecture on last week of November, and we had called him up around first week of November, and given the amount of knowledge he has, it was very surprising for me to say that I cannot speak about this at such short notice. So what you see today is actually more than a month's preparatory work, right, which shows his thoroughness and his scholarship at this. So I thank him once more on behalf of Lamakaan, and thank you so much for you all. Please stay back for dinner, have dinner and then leave. Thank you so much.
मेरा और अनवर मोअज़्ज़म साहब का रिश्ता 1971 से, when I became a part-time lecturer, I was asked by Anwar Moazzam Sahab, who was the head of the department, to go and teach modern trends to the final year students and to teach Muslim philosophy to the previous students. And in both the subjects, I was zero. So I said, give me 15 days of time so that I prepare and lecture. क्या आपने तो MA कर रखा है, आपको कुछ नहीं आता? मतलब जी ने सर, takes time for me to read and come back. ठीक है, 2 दिन ले लीजिए. You can imagine what will happen to me in 2 days. And he was such a disciplined person. He will come to the department. 8:30 क्लासेस होते थे, साहब 8 बजे आ जाते थे. 3D बस में आते थे, मेरे को याद है, नामपल्ली से आर्ट्स कॉलेज. मैं मोटरसाइकिल पे आता था, हर लिहाज से कोशिश करता था कि साहब से पहले पहुंच जाऊं, मगर पहुंच नहीं सकता था हमेशा. He used to stand in the corridor and he would only look at his watch like this. When we pass into our room, he will look like this, which means third class character, you are coming now. He was the one who inculcated discipline in me. He was the one who organized me. And he said, भाई आपका शुमार इंसानों में तो होता ही नहीं है, आपका शुमार तो जिन्नात में से होता है, आप इंसान कब बनेंगे? And what I am today, I am only because of Anwar Moazzam Sahab. He was the man who has inculcated everything into me from teaching. And he said, do you know, teaching is a noble profession? I said, no, I do not know what is teaching. He said, noble profession because you have to come. If your lecture is at 8:00, you should be at 7:45. If your lecture begins at 8:00, you have to stand before the classroom with duster and chalk piece and your lecture notes before the students come. It is a noble profession because if you are asked to go at 4, you should go at 4:30. ये सब चीज़ें हमारे को साफ सिखाए, और हम जो भी हैं उनके रहीने मिन्नत हैं. थैंक यू वेरी मच.